Good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to Carlam Cymru revision sessions. This session will focus on Spanish A-level and will be presented by Ms Daniela Lardieri from e-sgol Penglais. The session will last around 45 minutes, where the teacher will go through the relevant subject content. If you have any questions, please use the question and answer section, and we will endeavour to answer your questions during the session. The session will be recorded, and the recording and any relevant resources uploaded to the e-sgol website in the Carlam Cymru area. Thank you.
Buenas tardes, bienvenido al curso de español. Hoy vamos a empezar con el proyecto de búsqueda independiente. We're going to focus on the independent research project. I'm pretty sure that quite a few of you may have already your dates set for your examinations and for your examiner to come and visit you. So we're going to go through the requirements of the process, and hopefully there will be some tips and suggestions to make your research project better. If you do have any questions, make sure that you put them in the chat, and this could help if you are listening live to make this a little bit more relevant to your personal project. So let's start. Pardon? Let's start by looking at what is expected in an oral task. What kind of resources are you using? So you know that you need to focus on your Spanish resources, and how to organize your presentation and discussion input at the best. So I wanted to share with you, first of all, your marking scheme. So you know that you will be marked on two different levels. The first part that you'll be marked in is your presentation. Okay, sorry, this is not an highlighter, just give us a second. So there's the presentation, so that's, and you can get up to 20 marks. So let's have a look at what the requirements are. So from bottom line is that if you haven't prepared a presentation, I'm sure that this won't be the case, hopefully for nobody. So if we go, but the way that the examiners they mark is going to be from the bottom to the top. So in order to get to the top, you need to make sure that you covered all the requirements in the bottom. So if you go from the first band, on the objective of understand and respond in speech to written language drawn from a variety of sources. So this is your 2 minutes presentation. Make sure that it's 2 minutes sharp. So it's on the dot really. At 2 minutes, you will be stopped. And it's, I guess, again, it's drawn for a variety of sources. So really what you want to show is that you are able to read information from Spanish-speaking countries. You understand it, and you're able to elaborate it in speaking. So if you're here, there is some evidence of the research that has been undertaken, and some relevant information is conveyed, but with a lack of understanding of research findings affecting the quality of resource. This means that you may have perhaps read one article and you based all your research into that. So make sure that you are reading a little bit more, and your background reading really is fundamental. I suppose I can't stretch this part enough. You really need to read and show that you are reading, that you are mastering your subject. If you to go to the second band, you have a good presentation and understanding of research findings. This means that you have looked at some content, few articles, perhaps maybe a film, maybe a few books, and you understand your topic and you are able to analyze it and convey this information. However, your information is still drawn from a limited range of sources. So make sure that, again, you're not only focusing on one article that you might have read or two articles. To go into points 3, into this band, you want to have information drawn from a variety of sources, and to go to the top, you want information drawn from a wide variety of sources. We'll see what this means in a minute. Again, you want to make sure that your presentation is either very good or excellent, as in that you are able to deliver it properly, and that shows that you have a good understanding or an excellent understanding of what you have found out. The other objective that you are looking to meet is your accuracy in the way that you speak, using a range of lexes and structures. So again, if we look at the bottom, okay, we got 1 or 2 is when intonation and pronunciation make understanding difficult. So the examiner is not really sure of what you're talking about because your message isn't clear due to difficulties in intonation and pronunciation. You may not be showcasing your grammatical knowledge, and there is too many errors. Perhaps you're using structures that are too basic, and you're not showing off your idiomatic knowledge, and you may relying a little bit too much on words coming from the English. So make sure that you polish your presentation. To go to the upper band, okay, you still have some mistakes in here in intonation and pronunciation, but they do not impede understanding. So people can still understand what you are saying, although they can spot some mistake. You are showcasing that you know some idiomatic structures to support your findings, and you have a good knowledge of the grammar, even if there is still some mistakes. To go into the higher band again, your intonation and pronunciation are convincing. Okay, so you speak in a way that is understandable and sounds Spanish. And to go to the top band, you have an authentic intonation and pronunciation. And again, to go to the very top band, in terms of grammar, is almost error-free. And you are showcasing idiomatic use of language and a wide variety of structures. So you really want to know that you know your grammar. You're showing your subjunctive use, your use of for instance, sí plus conditional, sí tendría la oportunidad, me gustaría, for instance. So make sure that you familiarize with the marking scheme, and it's a good idea to try to think, where do you think that you currently are? Which band are you currently in? Where would you like to be? And what could you do to go to the top band, the band on top of the one that you are in currently? In this contest, so you show knowledge and understanding of different aspects of the culture and society of countries of Spanish, Spain and Spanish-speaking countries. So again, if we look at the bottom band, you can see that very few ideas are expressed or justified, and your knowledge is superficial and sometimes is irrelevant to the topic. Perhaps you haven't, in this case, perhaps you haven't prepared well. This presentation is not showcasing enough that you have read enough. If you are in this band, you can justify some ideas and point of view, but only sometimes. So it's important that you are as well to express and justify also means that you are referring to your sources. So you really want to ask yourself, what is the main key point of your presentation? what is your idea about it, and how do you know? So what is your evidence to justify your points and your conclusions? So to go to the higher band, you are usually justifying, convincingly your ideas and points of view, and you show a very good knowledge and understanding of the culture. And to go to the top band, you are always justifying convincingly your ideas and points of view, and you show an excellent knowledge of the culture. This means that you have done a good amount of background reading and you really master your topic. So to summarize, make sure that your presentation is thorough, that it lasts 2 minutes, that you are making sure that you know it, record yourself perhaps when reading it, when memorizing it, that you know it by heart, and that if you record it, maybe you can listen to yourself again so that you can pick up on some mistakes that you may do with your intonation and pronunciation. So what is expected? Again, we said the first part is your 2 minutes presentation. After that, you will have your discussion, 7 or 8 minutes. If you want, I put a link here on the adaptations for this summer, the adaptations for the exam. So you need to be clear. Try to say, this means, for instance, that your presentation is well structured. You're not going from one point to the other. You have a clear, sharp introduction. What is your topic? Hoy voy a hablar de, what is your main idea? Voy a hablar de la representación de las mujeres durante el periodo franquista. And what are you discussing? And perhaps why do you want to discuss this? And then maybe, one short introduction, straight to the point. Your first point, how you're going to develop. Primero, quiero decir que, and develop this point. Give an example, perhaps as an evidence, and refer to your sources. Point 1, point 2, point 3, always with an example referring to your sources, and a conclusion that summarize what you've said. So as well, take the initiative, that in particular as well during your discussion. So if your examiner challenges you, you could say, what is your idea? Estoy en contra de esta opinión. Creo que, pero no olvidemos que, let's not forget that, or you might agree. Estoy de acuerdo. You might agree to a certain level. Estoy de acuerdo hasta cierto punto, pero en contrapartida, so you want to show that there is another side of the story and you're aware of that. Make sure that you give your opinions, your thoughts. So there are some expressions here that perhaps can support. Otro argumento notable que me gustaría destacar es, another important argument that I would like to develop or to highlight is, lejos de resolver este problema, eso podría, is well far to solve this problem. This could, what could it do? Debido a, because of, dado que, again, because of. When speaking, use a wide range of vocabulary and structures. Again, refer to the marking scheme. So showcase your knowledge of the language, but make sure you're not just focused on that. Make sure you're delivering information as well. But use phrases that are using your subjunctives. So for instance, es importante que, es terrible que, es una vergüenza que eso pase. Show a very good knowledge of Spain and Spanish-speaking country linked to the topic discussed. So you really want to refer all the time to your topic. Again, support your opinions with examples and your sources and give conclusions. So to summarize, make sure that your message is clear for your presentation. The last 2 minutes, that is well structured, so you're not jumping from one point to the other, that you have a clear introduction that is nice, neat, straight to the point. You develop first point with a counter argument and some sources. Second point with an example, sources. Point 3, example, sources, conclusions. Find a nice way to wrap up all your research. Again, for your subject, if you're choosing a topic at this point, you should have chosen a topic, but make sure that the topic interests you, that you know there's something that you know or want to know more about. And remember that your question should be written in a Spanish-speaking country. So it could be Spain, but it could also be somewhere else in Latin America, Argentina, Mexico, Cuba, and also that your research project stimulates a discussion. Okay, so you got some examples in here of questions that you could ask. Por ejemplo, ¿qué pasa con? ¿Qué pasa con la imaginación de los publicistas? ¿Qué pasa con el Instituto de la Mujer y su Observatorio de la Publicidad? These are, if you want some questions that could be that they're really pointing out some issues, isn't it? So they could be a bit provocatory. Another example of a nice conclusion es planteado en los términos más dramáticos. Se puede formular la acusación de que el crecimiento sin control de la tecnología destruye las fuentes esenciales de nuestra humanidad, crea una cultura sin fundamentación moral y socava algunos de los procesos mentales y de las relaciones sociales que hacen una vida humana merezca ser vivida. En definitiva, la tecnología es tanto un amigo como un enemigo. So you can see that in this quite challenging conclusive paragraph, the person has put a few facts together, few opinions, few ideas. So the growth without control of technology is destroying the essential sources of humanity, is creating a culture without moral fundamental, and finally, technology is as much as tanto como, is as much a friend as an enemy. So different sides of the argument, as tanto como. Another nice way to ask a question that could develop and stimulate a discussion is asking what is the role, ¿cuál es el papel? Sorry, apologies for the typo here, obviously it's el space papel. ¿Cuál es el papel de las instituciones en el desarrollo económico de México? What is the role of the institutions of the government in the economical development of Mexico? Make sure, so again, make sure that your 2 minutes presentation ends with a statement or a question that leads to a discussion. We have another example here from Demetrio Iramain, from the book Una historia de las madres de Plaza de Mayo, que dice, un libro para chicos y grandes. Ese libro lo van a leer muchos chicos, pero yo quiero darles un consejo a quienes lo lean. Quiero darles un consejo. No se trata de un negative, no se trata de un libro para niños. Por el contrario, es una historia de grandes, es una historia de adultos y es una historia de la patria que es necesario que todos la comprendan porque se trata del relato de una historia muy trágica que vivió la Argentina y que todavía hoy se trata de ocultar. So a book for adults and kids. This book is going to be read by many kids, but I want to give a suggestion to those that are going to read. It's not a book for kids. On the other hand, on the opposite is a story for older people, is a story for adults, is a story for the country, which is necessary that everybody understood because it's the story is talking about a story, a very tragical story that Argentina lived, and that's still now people are trying to delete, to hide. So the language is even simple. You don't necessarily need, but here now and again, you got a variety of structures. So make sure that your message is clear, that goes to the point, and that develops a discussion. So you can have this as a support, is your Proforma. So make sure you have it, and you can use this as a support. It is actually a requirement that the center gives this to the examiners. So make sure, and it needs to be done 3 weeks before the arrival of the examiner, before your examination. So make sure you have this ready as soon as possible, and that highlights the title of your independent research project, the outline of the independent research project, up to 10 key points in English or Welsh only. So this is vital because it's going to give you a tool for your discussion. So 10 key points, and also it's something that will lead the discussion. So your examiner will be focusing on questions from these 10 key points that you give in English or Welsh. Make sure you include your references with the full title and dates where applicable. So again, make sure you have a wide variety of resources. The variety is key. In terms of resources, ¿cómo vamos a seleccionar las fuentes de la información adecuadas? It's important that your language sources come from Spanish, Spanish websites, Spanish books, Spanish magazines, Spanish films, Spanish radio programs, internet, websites, social media. Bear in mind that a variety of sources should include the internet, but not only the internet. So sources, you can quote books, you can think about magazines, film, radio programs. It could be paintings, it could be art. So you could refer to different things. Here's some ideas. Some Spanish-speaking websites. I'm going to have a look at some of those. So for instance, you can type on straight away on Google Español, Google Argentina, or Google Mexico to have type your key points. So we could have a look in a minute to some ideas on how to put key questions in the Google of these websites. You got quite a few others. So you got, for instance, aquí 20minutos.es. Gonna open it. So that's and you got some ideas. Vamos a ver. Por ejemplo, aquí tenemos los hechos los hechos cotidianos, o nacional, mundo, deportes, opinión, gente, economía. What is your point about? Is it about health? have a look at the articles. Aquí ya tenemos problemas de la sanidad, aplaza la semana que viene el fin de los aislamientos y el control, solo los casos graves de COVID. So what is your topic about? Where could you find some information? It will be about Mundo. So have a look at what, so there's what is muere el militar boliviano que tuvo que serenarse para matar el Che Guevara. So is your topic about Bolivia? Could an article like this one be interesting for you? Could it be something that you could reference to? Or nacional, is there something about España? So you got las noticias de la última hora, and you got España el 14 de marzo de 2020 se estreña el estado de alarma contra la COVID y una nueva forma de vivir. Perhaps if your topic is about, it could even be how COVID has affected, would impact the COVID has had in España, for instance, and then you might have some ideas in here. Deportes is what is your topic about? Football, baloncesto, tennis? Is there anything that so make sure you have a good understanding of websites to find information. Let's go back and let's have a look. So you got aquí, you got Antena 3, Última Hora, series, program, another website that could help. So you got different types in here. Huelgas, desaparecidas Madrid, and different type of noticias. You got programas. Perhaps there are some programs that might be interesting for your topic. Noticias. So another, so is it actualidad? You got España, mundo, sociedad, economía, tecnología, ciencia, salud, cultura. So vamos a ver España for an example. And so you got even some España, Madrid, Catalunya. Perhaps your topic is about the languages, minority languages, and maybe you want to get some information straight from Catalunya, see what happens, or from El País Vasco. So make sure again you familiarize yourself with different sites. Here you got some radio program on RTV, la Radio Nacional Española, and same thing. You could have a look and see what kind of sources are relevant for you. And it's a good idea as well to listen to the radio, because you really want to make sure that you're developing the listening, and so you can continue thinking in the target language and develop that ability to respond to something straight away. Again, El Mundo or El País. So I invite you to have a look to some of these websites. Then once you've selected your team, check for your sources, keep reading. Now, if you have finished your presentation, probably is a good time to carry on reading. Each time you find an interesting source, note it. So you want to put in your Proforma. I want to show you a way how to note your sources so you can follow the Harvard source presentation. So for instance, you'll have your author, you have first the surname, then comma, and the initial. Year of publication in round brackets, title, web page, article, video. you want to say where is this available. So you want to give the URL and access date and place of publication or publisher. So you have some example in here. So for instance, here you got the author, Paula Vicente or Paula Vicente. Aquí tenemos the title of the web page, Día Internacional de la Mujer. Aquí tenemos el URL, and if you're gonna put it all together, se lo vamos a poner todo junto. Tenemos esto, Vicente, surname, Paula, so just the initial, comma, Día Internacional de la Mujer, title, available at the URL, and then publicado, which the date that you got in here, el 5 de marzo de 2022, actualizado el 5 de marzo de 2022. So you got this information in here. If you carry on, another example, you got in here 20 minutos es el autor. Aquí tenemos el título de la página y aquí tenemos el indirizzo internet. Entonces vamos a ponerlo todo junto. Tenemos 20 minutos, autor, coma. El Ayuntamiento de Vitoria-Gasteiz impulsa una campaña para fomentar el uso del euskera entre los jóvenes. Available at, you give the direction, la dirección, y publicado el 20 de diciembre de 2021. So when you found a source, what do you do? The first thing that you want to do is make sure you read the text. Again, is it useful? Does it support the idea you want to express? And you might not have to use all of it. So which part are useful for you? Make sure that you do take notes. So what are the key points? What is the vocabulary that you want to use? Is there any statistics, any facts, any particular information that you want to use? It's really useful to take notes on things that you are finding, because for instance, if I read this one at some time ago, but I come back and I took some notes, I can see that I noted this about el papel de las instituciones en la búsqueda de desaparecidos. So it's the role of institution in looking for the desaparecidos. So when I go back to read it, I know what I'm reading about. So you got here el Sistema Federal de Búsqueda de Personas Desaparecidas Extraviadas tiene por objeto coordinar la cooperación con todo organismo que intervenga en la búsqueda de personas y en el hallazgo de personas no prevenidas. Again, so make sure that you take notes and that you jot down where you found your sources. Once you've done this, write your 2 minutes presentation. Make sure that it's 2 minutes sharp. They last 2 minutes sharp. So at the end of the 2 minutes, you finish it. Make sure that you learn it by heart. Practice it, timing yourself. So have a timer next to you. Record yourself to practice your pronunciation. So listen to yourself and practice again and again and again. Make sure that your presentation mentions the sources. And if it's too short or too long, change it and edit it. So to summarize your presentation, it's a summary of what you found and your personal response to the question asked. It's 2 minutes. You're not going to be interrupted during this time. It's 2 minutes sharp. It needs to be analytical, so it needs to analyze the facts and your findings and lead to the conclusion. Don't rush it, refer to the sources, but you shouldn't just mentioning a list of sources, and try to use a wide variety of structures. Got here some useful phrases that could be helpful to start. So he decidido hablar de, decided to speak about. Why did you start to speak about this topic? Quería saber. I wanted to know. What did you learn? He aprendido que. Es un tema de actualidad. Another way to refer to your sources is, so there's a nice way to mention it, después de haber leído, after having read, después de haber visto, after having seen, después haber escuchado, after having listened to. Where did you listen to? Where did you read it? Después de haber leído en un artículo del Mundo, después de haber visto un documental sobre los desaparecidos. Me podría atrever a decir que I could attempt to say, I could bring myself to say that. So there's another way to mention the sources, some example, habiéndome enterado, having learned, en un video del Instituto Nicaragüense de Cultura que, so it is a nice source as well as an official source. As you can see, so museum like this could also be interesting, could offer interesting points of view. Or another way to refer to a source is gracias a un artículo, yeah, o gracias a un video de me enterado de que, thanks to an article or a video in El Mundo, la Radio Nacional o al telediario, me he enterado que I've learned that. En un artículo del Mundo he leído que al telediario de RTV dijeron que, they said that. En un programa de la Radio Nacional de España escuché que. And make sure that you don't refer to your sources only in the presentation, refer to your sources during the discussion as well. Make sure that you are using your sources as your evidence constantly to get to the higher marks. And in fact, if we look now at the marking scheme for your project, so you got a maximum of 52 marks. If again you have understand and respond in speech to spoken language, including face-to-face interaction. So this is your communication skills. How well can you have a discussion with somebody on a topic, you know? Understand and respond in speech to written language drawn from a variety of sources. There's your reference during the discussion to your sources. So make sure that your points of view that are justified, your ideas and point of view are argued and supported by relevant evidence. That's how you're gonna get to your top marks. And that is what you do to show knowledge of different aspects, how you show that you can respond critically and analytically. So you can explain the facts and you can be critical about that. You can explain your point of view. So if we have a look at the marking scheme again from the bottom, you can see that here you didn't do any conclusions, no conclusion notes drawn, and no analysis or evaluation of issues and themes. So conclusions are fundamental. Your ideas and point of view, here there is a few, and not based on evidence. Okay, so it's vital that you refer to your evidence, to your sources. So every time that you express an idea, say, how do you know? And your knowledge in this case would be superficial, your knowledge and understanding on the culture, Spanish-speaking countries. To get to the top band, you have conclusions. You do have conclusions, but are superficial and not based on analysis and evaluations on issues and themes. So you're not referring to your sources. You may have some ideas, but you don't have any evidence to support them. So your knowledge and understanding, it sounds, but lacks depth, really. To go to the higher band, you got here conclusions are based on analysis and evaluation of issues and themes. your ideas and point of views are usually supported by relevant evidence. So sometimes you say, I do believe this because I've read somewhere, but don't do it all the time. And to go to the very top band, you really need to always support your argument with relevant evidence, and your conclusions are based on a detailed analysis and evaluation of issues and themes. It means that you can talk about your subject, you have the facts, and you can give conclusions based on this. Again, so in the discussion for what concerns the communication, if you're in the bottom band, there is a limited range of ideas and opinions are expressed. The limited success in establishing a meaningful exchange. So the communication lacks spontaneity. To go to the top, the band above, you can express some ideas, but sometimes you hesitate when answering the questions. You don't go too much into details. So to go to the higher band again, you want to respond to most questions or to all questions in a clear and detailed manner. You really want to lead the discussion. The interaction needs to show your spontaneity, and you're able to initiate and sustain the discussion, expressing a wide range of ideas, a point of view. As well, you need to use your research findings to support the knowledge and understanding of the topic. Again, this is referring to your sources. So your sources are informing your ideas. So every time you express an idea, ask yourself, how do you know? And the answer should be something that you've read, or you listened to, or you've seen somewhere. So as you can see here, obviously there is some punctuation, some points are given for your understanding of grammar and intonation and pronunciation. So you go to the higher bands, you need to have at least a convincing intonation and pronunciation. So it's important. You need to show that you can use idiomatic phrases and a variety or a wide variety of structures, and that your grammar is sound at a good level, or to go to the top band is almost error-free. So make sure you familiarize yourselves with the marking scheme. To do the discussion, make sure that you think of a few possible questions, identify some questions that somebody could ask you, and work out how could you answer these questions based on the marking scheme. Can you express your opinion? Can you justify your opinion? Can you offer a different point of view to justify your opinion? There are some possible questions that the examiners could ask. For instance, why did you choose this topic? How do you know? So again, your sources. In which datos, in which dates are you basing this sentence? ¿Qué es un buen ejemplo de lo que estaba hablando? So give examples of your topic. ¿A qué te refieres con eso? What do you refer to? ¿Puedes explicar el concepto que acabas de utilizar? So can you give more information on the concepts that you just used? ¿Puedes dar una ilustración o ejemplo diferente de tu idea? Can you give a different example of your idea? I would like to know more about. Could you tell me more about? When you say, what do you want to say? What are you referring to? Can you give me an example? Can you develop this point? So think about your presentation and think about maybe start developing some answer to these questions. Flashcards are a good idea to practice these questions. Make sure you show that you've understood what you found out and give your opinion as well, the conclusion you reached. There is a few vocabulary that could help you to structure your answers. So, sin embargo, cabe apuntar que, se debe recordar además que, para entender lo que está ocurriendo resulta esencial, no obstante, a pesar del todo, es evidente que. Make sure you keep the conversation going. So if you get stuck or if you didn't understand a question, ask for it repeated. Lo siento, no lo he entendido, le importaría repetirlo. And make sure you know enough about your subject. Does it allow you to develop interesting information, analysis, ideas, and opinion? Have you noted the key points and new vocabulary for your sources? Have you noted the key statistics, facts, quotations? Have you planned which parts will you include in your presentation and your discussion? And muchas gracias por escuchar. Si tenéis preguntas, hazme saber. No sé si hay preguntas. Is there any questions?
No.
No questions. Fantastic. Then I'm gonna leave it to this. Muchas gracias. Mucha suerte. Good luck with your exams. Adiós.